WADR, promoting dialogue.
At 6 p.m. in Dakar, 7 p.m. in Lagos. Good evening and many thanks for staying tuned to West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM and around the world on wadr.org. Welcome to Newslink. Here are the top stories. Senegal launches new technology deal to accelerate the country's digital transformation.
With the
new technology deal, we will introduce, in addition to the simplification and standardization of procedures and an affordable cost.
Guinea-Bissau's presidential election set for November 30 amid political tension. Niger's head of state, General Chani, begins his first nationwide tour since taking power in 2023.
We came to observe the conditions under which you carried out this mission, and we thank you for it. As the compatriots from Libere home are just left, assured me that their security is guaranteed.
And Liberian government reintroduces travel ordinance restricting number of delegation on foreign travels. Please stay tuned for details of these stories and more.
Here is a more edit with Newslink.
Many thanks for joining our broadcast and a warm welcome to our listeners in the Gambia, Ghana, Liberia and Sierra Leone. Well, let's begin here in Senegal as the government has launched a new technological initiative aimed at accelerating the country's digital transformation. This project was inaugurated by President Bashir Diomaye Faye on Monday in Jamniajo, near the capital, Dakar. With a total investment of 1.105 billion CFA francs, including 950 billion already allocated in the budget, this initiative is a part of the National Agenda for Transformation Senegal 2050 set forth by the new authorities in Senegal. Well, here's an excerpt from Bashir Diomaye Faye's statement.
La digitalisation de l'administration et des services publics.
The digitization of administration and public services, land management, computerized patient records, dematerialized saver status, electronic invoicing, among others, is an absolute priority. It is the cornerstone of this digital transformation. Many of our fellow citizens face long, costly and sometimes inefficient processes to access information or carry out basic administrative procedures. With the new technology deal, we will introduce, in addition to the simplification and standardization of procedures, universal access to the internet and an affordable cost. The issue of digital sovereignty has become essential for all nations. For Senegal, we are committed to building a sovereign digital space by strengthening our cyber resilience, securing infrastructure, protecting our critical data, and gradually reducing our dependence on foreign solutions. With the objective of investing in the digital economy and the ERN Digital Factory program, this program will make our country a niche of excellence, a center of expertise capable of producing, using and exporting technologies and solutions in artificial intelligence, cloud computing, cybersecurity, virtual reality, gaming and robotics.
La cybersécurité, la réalité virtuelle, le gaming et la robotique.
Senegalese President Bashir Diomaye Faye speaking there while staying in Senegal. The government and Guinea-Bissau have signed a landmark peace agreement aimed at ending decades of conflict in Casamance, Senegal's southern region. The deal, reached during an official visit by Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko to Bissau, follows high-level talks with Guinea-Bissau President Umaro Sissoco Embalo. The agreement marks a significant step towards stability and regional cooperation, with both nations committing to security collaboration, conflict resolution and economic development. Given Guinea-Bissau's proximity to Casamance, its role in the peace process is seen as crucial in ensuring a long-term stability. A Chatisa report.
Following discussions between Ousmane Sonko and Umaro Sissoco Embalo, it was announced that a peace agreement had been signed between the Senegalese government and the MFDC movement of Democratic Forces of Casamance rebels.
We have concluded the work on negotiations between the movement of oppressive forces and the disarmament process regarding the state of Senegal. The committee has been working tirelessly for the past 3 days here in Bissau. We have contributed to the establishment of this important agreement, which represents a significant step towards lasting peace. In the event of a threat, as you know, President Bassirou Diomaye has an ambitious plan called the Diomaye Plan for the Threat Zone, an economic and social development strategy that can only be implemented once peace is fully and permanently achieved. You also know that anything affecting Senegal impacts Guinea, Sahel, and vice versa. We also have a vested interest in stabilizing this region to firmly place our countries on the path to development.
The meeting also addressed other key areas of cooperation between Dakar and Bissau, including security and the strengthening of cross-border economic exchanges. For his part, the Bissau-Guinean president highlighted the historical importance of the agreement for regional stability. The Casamance conflict, which began in 1982, has been a long-standing dispute between the Senegalese government and the MFDC, which has been advocating independence. Given its shared border with Casamance, Guinea-Bissau plays a critical role in efforts to secure lasting peace.
That was a report filed by Demama and voiced by Eche Atisu. In the meantime, Guinea-Bissau President Umaro Sissoco Embalo on Sunday announced that the country's presidential election will take place on November 30. The decision comes as ECOWAS and the United Nations have deployed a mission to facilitate consensus on the electoral calendar. The joint mission will remain in the country until February 28 and plans to engage with all stakeholders in the electoral process. President Embalo has expressed his intention to remain in power until his successor is inaugurated, a stance that has drawn criticism from the opposition. Led by former Prime Minister Domingos Simões Pereira, the opposition is demanding his departure by February 27, 2025, the anniversary of his inauguration. Meanwhile, the Supreme Court has ruled that his official mandate ends on September 4. Let's now bring you some development from the Sahel region, starting with Niger, where General Abdurrahman Chani has embarked on his first field trip across the country since taking power following a coup d'etat in July 2023. The president of the National Council for the Safeguarding of the Homeland, CNSP, went to the Tillabéri region on Sunday, one of the most affected areas affected by terrorist attacks in Niger. It is a first symbolic field trip that reflects the priority given to securing this strategic area on the borders of Mali and Burkina Faso. Christopher Ticho has the details in this report.
Since taking power in July 2023, Nigerian head of state Abdurrahman Chiani makes his first visit in the Tillabéri region located west of Niamey. This area is home to 96th Inter-Armed Battalion of Defense Zone No. 9. General Chiani arrived to observe the work of the troops in this region, which is known as the Three Borders Zone.
We came to observe the conditions under which you carried out this mission, and we thank you for it. As the compatriots from Libéré home are just left, assured me that their security is guaranteed.
During his visit, General Chiani reassured the soldiers about the state support. He announced that significant resources would be made available to them.
The first urgency is to have a solid defense, and that defense, the expression of that defense, is through the defense and security forces of which you are a component. And in relation to that, and I repeat, we will spare no effort to enable you to carry out the missions that are sovereign missions.
These initiatives from the military authorities aim to assist regions affected by the terrorism and to promote reconstruction and stability. It is important to note that during this visit, General Chiani went to the village of Libéry in the Terror Department, where 20 civilians lost their lives in the terrorist attack last December.
That was Christopher Ticho with the details of Murtala Zubairu's report from Niamey. In Mali, former Prime Minister Shigel Maiga has officially distanced himself from Mali's ruling military junta, announcing that his movement, the M5 RFP, is severing ties with the transitional authorities. He condemned the approach to governance and called for a return to constitutional order. Francis Boniface completes the story.
Addressing his supporters and the press, the former Prime Minister Shugel Maiga positioned himself as a leading opposition figure, openly criticizing the junta's governance, with whom he co-led the transition for 3 years. He condemned his exclusion from key decisions and denounced the arrest of his close associates.
On July 1, an ambush was set for the Prime Minister as a new government was formed through the outright dismissal and replacement of nearly all M5 RFP-affiliated ministers without any prior consultation or alternative proposals from the Prime Minister. Despite this, the Malian people had previously condemned the arbitrary arrests and extrajudicial detentions of M5 RFP Strategic Committee members during their political struggle.
With uncertainty lingering over the transition's timeline, Maiga has reiterated calls for a return to constitutional order to restore legitimacy to state institutions.
Although no election has taken place, certain advisors have begun acting as though the transitional president were constitutionally and democratically elected head of state. We recommend establishing security conditions to finalize key reforms and ensure the proper organization of the future APC elections with full involvement of both political and social forces.
Since his dismissal, the M5 RFP leader has intensified his public critiques, signaling his determination to reassert his presence on Mali's political stage.
Francis Boniface voiced their report as filed in by our Bamako correspondent Aliu Cham. Now, a new report by the World Organization Against Torture has revealed a detailed, systematic repression of civil society actors across the Sahel. The report, which is in partnership with the International Federation of Human Rights, FIDH, spans through the period of January 2020 to September 2024, examining the human rights landscape in Mali, Niger, Burkina Faso, and Chad, shedding light on escalating restrictions on fundamental freedoms. The study underscores a coordinated effort by regional authorities to stifle dissent, citing a pattern of repression and the silencing of civil society voices. Over the 4-year period, 61 documented cases of human rights violations were recorded by the two organizations, highlighting the shrinking civic space in the region. Let's hear from Isidore Nguelwe, Senior Advisor for Africa at the World Organization Against Torture, who discusses these findings in an interview with Demba Amaan.
For nearly 30 years, the World Organization Against Torture, OMCT, and the International Federation for Human Rights, FIDH, have established a mechanism known as the Observatory for the Protection of Human Rights Defenders. This observatory is dedicated to monitoring the human rights situation, particularly focusing on individuals who promote and defend these rights. As part of its work, it systematically documents attacks, threats, and harassment targeting human rights defenders. The report published last Thursday is, in fact, a compilation of all the violations documented by the observatory between 2020 and 2024. These urgent appeals arise from reports and alerts issued in a given country when a human rights defender is threatened, arrested, tortured, or forcibly disappeared.
So now, what do you intend to do with this report? Will you limit your efforts to merely denouncing these violations, or do you plan to take further action?
In most of these countries, we have already undertaken legal actions. For example, in Chad, we have filed a complaint regarding human rights violations that occurred during the October 2022 protests. Additionally, various allegation letters have been submitted to different special rapporteurs, whether from the African Commission on Human and People's Rights or the United Nations. Thus, follow-up actions are being carried out at both national and international levels.
Now, a senior advisor for Africa at the World Organization Against Torture, Isidore Nguelwe. Now, before leaving the Sahel, the 29th edition of the Pan-African Film and Television Festival of Ouagadougou, FESPASCO, is officially underway in Burkina Faso. This year's festival features 248 films from 48 countries competing for top honors. The event was launched on Saturday under the theme African Cinema and Cultural Identity, with Chad serving as the guest country of honor. Well, Augustin Kohli completes the story.
For 1 week, Ouagadougou transforms into the capital of African cinema. The official opening was marked by a ceremonial clap given by Burkinabe President Ibrahim Traoré and Chadian President Mahama Idris Deby, bringing together film professionals and cinemas across the city. Here is the Chadian Minister of Culture, Abaka Rozi.
Today's FESPACO ceremony is truly special. It marks a new chapter in our collective commitment to shaping the future of Pan-African culture.
In total, 248 films from 48 countries are competing in this 29th edition of FESPACO, which is being held under the theme African Cinema and Cultural Identity. Burkinabe Minister of Culture, Gerber Ouedraogo, said that films allow people of different origins to tell their stories.
Cinema is a mirror of society, a powerful tool for preserving our culture, values, dreams, and struggles. It allows us to tell our own stories.
Filmmakers are hoping for a vibrant and emotionally rich festival.
FESPACO was held 2 years ago and again this year, sending a strong international message about our country.
It's a great theme because cinema isn't just about making films. It's about ensuring that those films reflect our lives in Africa.
Cinema has the power to heal, educate, and preserve cultural identity. I feel like, in some ways, we may have lost part of our identity.
With the competition officially underway, all eyes are on who will succeed Tunisia's Youssef Chebbi, the last winner of the Senegal Golden Stallone, the festival's most prestigious award. The festival will conclude on Saturday, March 1.
Augustine Cooley voiced that report as fired in by our Ouagadougou correspondent Martin Kaba. You're listening to Newslink on West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting on 94.9 FM in Dakar and around the world on wadr.org. Here is a reminder of our top stories. Senegal launches new technology deal to accelerate the country's digital transformation. Guinea-Bissau's presidential election set for November 30 amid political tensions. Niger's head of state, General Chani, begins his first nationwide tour since taking power in 2023. And still ahead in the news, Liberian government reintroduces travel ordinance restricting number of delegation on foreign travels. We also have a guest interview and sports news. Please stay with us.
West Africa Democracy Radio. It's you speaking.
Don't forget, we are streaming live on wadr.org. You can also follow live streaming on YouTube and Facebook. Now let's take you to Liberia, where the government, through its Ministry of Finance and Development Planning, has reintroduced a revised travel ordinance for all public officials. According to the ordinance, cabinet delegations will be limited to a maximum of 3 persons, including the head of delegation. Delegations led by the Minister of Foreign Affairs will not exceed 5 persons, while those headed by the Ministers of Finance, Justice, Defense and State will be capped at 4. The regulation states that any cabinet delegation exceeding these limits will require the express approval of President Joseph Boakai. However, the decree states that exceptions were made for high-level meetings such as the UN General Assembly and the annual meetings of the IMF, World Bank, African Development Bank, AFDB, AU, and ECOWAS. Additionally, cabinet members, ministers, and heads of spending entities have been advised to manage foreign travel budget prudently. The travel ordinance reveals that only the Vice President, Speaker, Senate pro tempore, Chief Justice, and the Ministers of Foreign Affairs, Finance, Justice, Defense, and State are authorized to travel in business class. All other officials must travel in economy class unless their travel is externally funded. Well, staying in Liberia, the World Health Organization WHO has donated a state-of-the-art electroencephalogram EEG machine to the Ministry of Health. This modern 36-channel EEG machine is set to enhance the diagnosis and treatment of mental and neurological disorders at the country's mental health hospital. WDL's Monrovia correspondent Abraham Parker has the rest of the story.
The newly donated EEG machine comes with essential accessories including a computer system, a monitor, a printer, and the necessary connecting apparatus. During the handover ceremony at the JFK Hospital, Dr. Moses Zia, representing the Liberian Ministry of Health, emphasized the critical need for this machine, especially following the breakdown of the previous equipment. He highlighted the importance of the donation, which followed extensive efforts by the Ministry of Health and the WHO representation led by Dr. Peter Clement.
We have been in continuous advocacy and negotiation, get at least a machine available to Liberia. This machine is very essential to services we provide at the mental health hospital.
Upon receiving the machine, Dr. Lina Birch, Chief Executive Officer of the John Kennedy Medical Center, stated that the introduction of the advanced technological machine will significantly enhance the hospital's ability to manage mental health patients effectively, ensuring they receive the necessary care.
In order for us to meet the needs of our patients at the mental health hospital, this equipment is essential in managing them.
This donation marks a promising step forward in the enhancement of mental health services in Liberia, demonstrating a commitment to improving healthcare infrastructure and patient care in the country. For Newslink on WADR, I'm Abraham Parker reporting from Monrovia.
Politics,
analysis on major news,
social matters, and all. This is A Guest.
Our guest interview focuses on the latest peace-building consensus reached between Senegal and Guinea-Bissau as the two countries signed a landmark peace agreement aimed at ending decades of conflict in Casaman's Senegal's southern region. The deal reached during an official visit by Senegalese Prime Minister Ousmane Sonko to Bissau follows high-level talks with Bissau-Guinean President Umaru Sissoco Embalo. Our guest is Senegalese political analyst Professor Guigui Dieng, and he speaks about the significance of the agreement.
You know what this region represents in Senegal. It is the greenest area in Senegal. It's a region that produces a lot of fruit, etc. So for about 43 years, there has been a conflict there that has halted the economic activities. A lot of people have left the region to go to neighboring countries, Guinea-Bissau, the Gambia, etc. So this has really negatively affected the development of the region, but also the development of Senegal as a whole, because, as I told you, this region represents a special area as far as agriculture is concerned, and even tourism.
And so with all of these potentials over there and with the advance of the conflict, first up, we want to know what has been the root cause of this particular conflict.
I believe that there are a variety of causes that triggered off the conflict in 1982. One reason is some consider that the Casamance region is not part of Senegal. But when they say that, I think that they're making a very big mistake, because they're referring to colonization. Our history did not start with colonization, so we cannot and we shouldn't base our identity on colonization. Africa has existed before colonization. Senegal and Senegambia had existed before colonization, so we should not really refer to colonization to define who we are. And I consider this to be a very big mistake, because before colonization, before the Europeans came to Africa, we had some unity. Refer to the Empire of Mali, to the Empire of Ghana, to the Empire of Gabon. This is much more important than colonization. So that's the first reason. The second reason is a cultural reason. Because some believe that, culturally speaking, there is a gap between what they consider to be northern Senegal and southern Senegal. But I believe that this is also to be rejected, because I do not really see a big divide between the north and the south. This other reason is an administrative reason. And I consider this to be the most important reason. If I analyze this from a scientific perspective, this is what I consider to be the main reason for the rebellion. That to say, after independence, we didn't really reconsider the presence of the new administrative people in the region. They continued to administer the region, like the Europeans. People from the north, they did not really consider the region as part of Senegal. And I consider this to be really the key reason for the rebellion.
And so now, with the coming of the two heads of states signing this peace pact to ensure peace, what does it mean going forward?
Well, we've got to praise this move, but we have got to consider that this is not the first time this happens. And this is simply a continuation of what has already been started by the previous regimes, especially the regime of President Sall, because in 2022, there was an agreement signed between the government of Senegal and then what they consider to be the southern front of the rebellion.
With this milestone reached, how should commitment level be from all parties, and of course with the inclusion of local folks to ensure that we have a lasting and a sustainable peace going forward?
It will be very difficult for the government of Senegal to achieve peace in this condition. I believe that it will be very difficult to sort out the problem if you don't sort out the unity within the movement itself. The government is working on this, I believe.
Senegalese political analyst Professor Gugi Jang. There is sports with Sankle Janko.
Hello out there, welcome and thank you for joining us. Guinea international Sekou Guirassy has been hailed as one of the best strikers in Europe. This comes after the forward produced another stellar performance, scoring 4 goals as his Borussia Dortmund side demolished Union Berlin 6-0 in the Bundesliga on Saturday. His performance earned praise from German football legend Lothar Matthäus, who believes the Guinea forward belongs among Europe's elites. He hailed the Guinea forward, adding that he has been consistent both in the German Bundesliga and UEFA Champions League. Guirassy has 23 goals and 4 assists in 31 appearances this season. Elsewhere, former Liverpool striker Daniel Sturridge has called for Mo Salah to be considered for the Ballon d'Or, according to media reports. Sturridge insisted that the Egyptian forward's consistency and impact at Liverpool deserved greater recognition. Salah helped score and assisted in Liverpool's 2-0 win against Manchester City in the English Premier League on Sunday. The Egypt superstar is a leading contender for the prestigious Ballon d'Or, having scored 30 goals and 21 assists in 38 appearances this season. And the Cameroon Football Federation, FECAFOOT, has reportedly rejected accusations from the Ministry of Sports and Physical Education over the 1.85 million euros compensation owed to former Indomitable Lions coach Antonio Conceição, reigniting tensions between the two institutions. The ministry accused the Eto'o-led administration of wrongful dismissal of Portuguese Conceição. And that's it for sports. It's back to you.
And that's it on this edition of Newslink from West Africa Democracy Radio, broadcasting from Dakar, Senegal. Thank you for listening, and many thanks to Mauro Juf and Umu Danugo for the technical support. Do connect with us on all of our social media platforms, X, formerly Twitter, Instagram, at WDL News. Coming up at the bottom of the hour is our flagship health program, Well Buddy. I am Imo Edet. Good evening.
And many thanks to you for listening to Newslink via Hot 104.3 FM, New Me FM 94.